We live.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Greetings, 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 greetings. I bring to you a special edition of Royalty with Saran today. Um, Very first time we have a king in the house. Go figure, the wellness queens, and here comes the king. Um, how do I begin?
Peace, everybody.
Awkward. So let me introduce our co-host, our co-facilitator for this evening's conversation. He is 25% of the group, the four elements united: earth, fire, water, and he is wind. Um, Wind has been a delightful human being for me to know. Uh, Gosh, what is that? What is that feeling right there? A lot of times we meet people and they instantly change your life for the better. And for me, that's exactly what Wind has been. He has been one of the persons that I can honestly say he has redesigned my life. And I'm very, very grateful to have you in my circle, to have you in my life. Um, it's very easy for a woman who understands her power to get sucked into the world of just doing your due and going with the flow with just you. However, the dynamics that the masculine energy brings into your life is something that's completely magical to some extent. And so for me, I'm very, very grateful. Um, Queens don't buy into the notion that we don't need balance. Having a king in your circle, having that masculine energy is very, very necessary. And so I am very grateful and I welcome you. Red carpets, rose petals, and all the extra stuff. Fanfare, confetti, and all of the good stuff. Welcome, welcome to the platform. Um, so this evening we're gonna have a conversation about obesity. Now, there's a lot that can be said about obesity. However, tonight's conversation is intended to take a different angle. Um, I know for persons who are obese and they have tried their endeavor best to adjust that situation. When the conversation comes up, it almost feels like, oh, you should do this and you should do that. It almost feels like a judgment type thing. And so that's not what I want the conversation tonight to be about. It's going to be a different outlook. And I think, well, not I think, I know Win possesses a very unique perspective on it. And I'm happy to have him with us and to share with us. Of course, I'm inviting my people to participate fully. Don't let it be, a conversation just between us. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have any feedback or anything like that, I certainly welcome it. So once again, peace and blessings. Welcome to Royalty with Saran. Wind, what's up? What's good?
Peace, everybody. I thank you, Queen, for inviting me for this very important conversation. It really needs to be had. Because all of us are afflicted with some addiction or some issue with respect to food. We have a poor relationship to food, and it has just be huger than normal, right? It also has us to deal with ailments, particularly down the line, with diabetes, with cancer, with hypertension, with this and with that. And much of that could be avoided. I mean, here we are in 2022, and our consciousness needs to be elevated. And so I salute you for all the work that you're doing in the community. Saran is a cornerstone of the community, doing the work that she's doing with the wellness queens. with the 14-day detox, with my herb box, with woodwork, and everything else that she's doing. So, big up to you, Queen.
Thank you very much, Wind. Almost put your whole government on. So yeah, thank you. Um, you know, I, both of us, we've had the conversation about obesity before. We've spoken about the need for us to shift our consciousness where especially food is concerned. I think for the most part, there are many factors that play a role in obesity, but one of the key components definitely is food. And the truth is, in my opinion, food is not supposed to be difficult, but the truth is, it is. And as much as for persons who are in the know in terms of nutrition and wellness and that type of thing, it's easy for us to look at others with judgment, not recognizing that while we were busy studying nutrition and doing herbal work and things like that, they were perhaps mastering IT or mastering architectural design. That's where their focus and interest was at that time. And so what we think is commonplace knowledge really isn't, and especially when it comes to food. For one of the reasons for that is, like I've always said to my persons, especially those on Zoom, we have entrusted people to feed us who have never ever earned our trust, and that's just baseline. And that's also it's almost like we're projecting who we are on others. We're trusting people because if we made food to sell to people, we would do the right thing, or we would try to be honorable in the way we move. However, a lot of the food companies that we have trusted are not of that mindset. They're not like-minded where that is concerned, and so food is more complicated than I think nature intended, but we are where we are today. So let's talk about food a little bit.
Hmm.
Wind, what you got?
So for me, I kind of want to take it back. I want to take it back to the transatlantic slave trade, because that really is the source of our issue. Prior to the slave trade, we were in our tribes and we ate well and we exercised and we moved around and we thrived in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But subsequent to that, because of our bondage, because of slavery, we had to eat other people's food. We had to eat the scraps that were provided to us by our slave masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those scraps, were things that were absolutely foreign to us.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about, all sorts of the worst of the worst foods, the worst of the worst parts of animals, things that we didn't eat. We made the best of it because in order to survive, it was required for us to make the best of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and during slavery, we worked out a lot. We were in the fields, you know. So we had the capacity to burn off the bad foods that we partook,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We don't have that now. And so my point in bringing this up is that obesity, the manner in which we relate to food, is inherited to us
Mm-hmm.
from that slave trade and generations that had to eat certain foods. We
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be eating the way we eat now if it wasn't for that. And
Yeah.
so now that we are in 2022, we have to understand that we don't have to eat that way. But the unfortunate part is that we have an emotional attachment, right? We have a mental attachment to these comfort foods. for we have an attachment to these foods that brought comfort, a feeling of family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have to, like I said, be conscious that those foods, unfortunately, are not necessarily good for us. And if we want to um, circumvent or prevent ailments such as cancer, such as diabetes, it's absolutely incumbent upon us to take responsibility for what we put in our mouths. And that's really the bottom line.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I know we've talked about it before. In terms of our emotional connection to food, it is such a strong pull. I know for me, when I reflect at my childhood, there was no better feeling that I can think back on than the moment when my grandmother called us inside for food. Of course, island girl. So we were, outside from the time you had breakfast. We were pretty much in our grandmother's yard, and this was really in the summertime. And we ate from the trees. You're going from fruit tree, guava tree to mango tree to whatever. And that's pretty much how we spent our day. However, at the end of the day, when it's sunset, it's inside time. And that feeling that you got when your grandmother was able to give you extra is something so very special. We ate throughout the day, you know what I mean? But her her energy once she was able to feed you and give you doubles and that type of thing is something that just cannot be replaced. I know for me it was so significant that I remember sitting on the floor. I don't know about I don't know if you have these experiences wind, but we used to sit on the floor and we would put the plate between our legs wide apart, and you make a large circle, your cousins, your sisters, and your siblings, and we all ate that way. And when you're done, and then your grandmother come around with whatever bowl or whatever pot, and she was able to bless you with more. Her energy was something so warm, so loving, that I get our connection to food. It's something, I mean, for me, it goes all the way back to the time I was about 7. That's that time. And I can still remember that feeling of love, the feeling of comfort, the feeling of being safe and secure because you're not hungry. You know what I mean? And for her, being able to provide was such a, you know, it was something that satisfied her. And so our attachment to food dates all the way back to that time. Um, so anyhow, I was just saying our attachment to food is major. Outside of that, as we grew up, that was like the clean eating days, I would say. Of course, it wasn't perfect because, again, she was able to provide that were inexpensive because limited budget was, we think we have it bad now in terms of limitations with spending and access to certain resources. But back then, it was a major difference. Today, we have choices, and as we grew up, of course, in came the snack age where everybody started, okay, snacking, and that type of thing. And again, um, coming from a place of very little and of significant lack, when you're able to buy stuff, especially food, and as we took in snacks that were heavily chemicalized and very addictive, we got that connection between having enough and having sufficient funds and that connection to the same food. And so our addiction to food is compounded by the fact that we eat foods that were designed for us to be addicted to. And also, you know, that inner voice, that satisfaction being able to buy stuff for yourself, And so I definitely understand our attachment to food. And as much as I'm not overweight, I just want to speak to my people in a different way. There is no judgment because, like I said on our last call, basically the only difference that separates the slim and the obese is pretty much metabolism. We all at some point engaged in the same type of eating. We did that repeatedly. Some were able to burn it up because of faster metabolism, and others were not. So there's absolutely no judgment on my part. Coming from somebody who was slim back in my day of unconscious eating, mean I could pizza. When it comes to pizza, I could literally eat a medium pizza by myself. So I understand. So there is no judgment here.
And if you're not careful, that as you age, that metabolism slows down, and so it catches up with you, and then
Yep.
you have the propensity to become obese
Yep. Hmm. And
because
that's why.
because it's a habit, it's a mind state or lack of consciousness that has us be that way.
I definitely agree. And this is why conversations like this need, you know, we can't do it too often if you ask me. The more of us that are taking the time out to really talk about food selection, it can only enhance the community. Um, the way in which we pick food is significant. Are we picking foods that were designed and created for us to remain addicted? A lot of times we are. And this is where that whole food conversation is necessary because you can and we all should be eating foods that are natural foods. In this day and age, it's even difficult to decide, okay, what's natural because everything is packaged as natural. Every label is all organic and then it's this and it's all that and all that kind of good stuff. I put those in air quotes because a lot of times it's not. And we get caught up in the convenience food,
Yes.
food being convenient, not being able or not desiring anymore to take the time out to prepare our own food,
Yeah.
trusting and relegating that responsibility to others. That has really gotten us in a bind a lot
Yeah.
of
Let
times.
me speak to another source of obesity. So much of the issues stem from American culture, Western culture,
Mm,
that we have exported to other lands,
yes.
right? So prior to the 1940s, before World War II, everybody ate it in a particular way. But because of industrialization, to help the military win the war here in America, the World War, they created convenience foods, convenience packaging, canned food. Um, they did what was the food? It was a tray type food. What was it called?
Or the frozen foods or
Yeah, it was frozen foods, but it was a table of food. I forget, it was a particular name where it had your meat, your beans, your uh, uh, I can't remember the name of the food, but anyway, it industrialization changed the manner in which we ate as a people, and we exported that all. Yeah, it was TV dinners, right? TV dinner,
oh yeah, yeah.
right? Thanks, George. And so we exported those conveniences all throughout the world, and it changed our eating habits, right? So as opposed to being in an agrarian society, we were in a more this technological society where we were more sedentary or we did more factory work.
Yeah.
And so everybody wanted to eat fast and, eat. eat differently. Our families spread out throughout the country, and so everything about family structure changed. Everything about eating habits changed.
Mm-hmm.
And now, then we get into the 80s and the 70s where the microwave came about, and we started microwaving foods. And so the dynamics of all of our eating, you know, just change, and not necessarily change for the better of our health and well-being, but out of convenience
Yeah.
and expediency.
Mm-hmm.
And it has an adverse effect on our health and well-being, actually.
Yeah, and I can piggyback off of that. As much as we were not directly involved in terms of the war and stuff, and I speak Caribbean people, Antiguans particularly.
Mhm.
Everything, there's a saying here when America catches the cold, we get the flu
Right.
because it's the influence is so significant
When
here.
America sneezes, we catch a cold.
Right. When America sneezes, we catch the cold. And that's very, very true in terms of food. I remember back in the day, my mother had three girls. She was a single parent, but food was cooked every day because it was necessary. There was no, all the different canned stuff and the convenience. We didn't have the TV dinners and things like that. But slowly but surely, as it changed in America, it trickled down right
Exactly.
here. And the
Exactly.
impact, some persons have just never looked back. After the canned food era, a lot of families embraced the convenience of it and put aside the old fashioned way of, preparing food from scratch and things like that. And so it affects everybody in the diaspora. It
Yeah.
affects everybody, this whole convenient notion. And let me just speak to persons who are still, we're not microwaving food in 2022. We're not doing that still. Are we doing that? Zoom people, we're still microwaving food. And this is something that I just want to touch on just a little, if you allow me, Wendy. You
Mhm.
can have the healthiest food, the healthiest meal. You do a complete, like one of those plant power dinners that was posted in the group not too long ago. You can have that and you put that to be reheated in the microwave. You no longer have live food. You no longer have food of any substance. You have automatically converted that into what I would call trash. And that's not, the science behind why do you think we can't stand in front of the microwave? We can't stand in front of the microwave, but we can heat our food, eat that food, and expect to be nourished by that food. When we think about the things that we do, you know, but the thing is, we're not thinking, we're trusting. It's in everybody's home, it's made to heat food. And so, it must be safe. They must have tested it before they put it out on the market. And again, we relegate our trust to people who have never earned it. And I just want to remind us, take the time. Take the time, even if you're buying food out or whatever, or you have food from another time. Take your time and heat your food in a manner that's gonna preserve some sort of nutrition. Because the microwave that's not it in 2022 at all.
Yeah. And with those convenience foods that you bought at the store came these store chains like McDonald's and KFC. I know KFC is huge in Antigua, right? So all of that stuff was exported from the U.S. It's capitalism at its finest, and capitalism in that manner is not healthy for us, because at the end of the day, they have they have preservatives and chemicals that have these foods withstand a specific duration of time. just so that they can continue to monetize, if they're not sold immediately. And
Right.
those chemicals are creating addictions in our bodies and ailments in our bodies that are crippling us.
Yeah. And let me just speak to you. You actually reminded me of something that I had on my iPad years ago. It was um, what you call it, McDonald's burger that was kept at room temperature 2 years. 2 years, and there's no mold. The only thing that changed on the burger was the fact that the pickle kind of shrinked. But everything else, it looked like if you could have said, I bought that yesterday. And when you're thinking about food, if it's not rotting, if it's not decaying, what are we eating? Is that really chicken? Is that really bread? And I'm also reminded when I lived in Indiana, honest to God, I'm one of those persons who, and especially back then, I was so excited about doing different things with food and testing this and testing that. So I actually did the same thing with bread. I went and got one of those double A, the sliced bread and that kind of thing. And that stuff stayed at room temperature. I'm not joking. 9 months before there was any sign of mold on it. 9 months. Of course, it's not a scientific study or anything, but this is what we know. When you have more natural breads, it's impossible for it to be preserved that long out of the refrigerator just there. There's no way that it's not gonna start molding and decaying. Impossible. But that just speaks to how much our food is preserved. And people know that if it doesn't want to break down outside of the body, same is true inside the body. It's not, your body isn't going to know what to do with it. It knows what to do with an apple. It knows, okay, I'm going to pull out whatever vitamins and minerals needed. But with the McDonald's burger that sat on the shelf for 2 years, what are we supposed to do with that? You know, I think we're requiring a lot from our bodies to decipher, okay, what to do with all these chemicals, what to do with all these toxins, when in fact, our bodies are not asking for any extra work. Go ahead, Wind.
Oh, I mean, I totally agree. One of the things that I was thinking about is that I lost my train of thought, but you were saying something.
It's the preserved foods.
Yeah, we were talking about the preserved foods, but I was about to transition to something. But at any rate, you know, um, it requires so at the end of the day, right? I just want people to know to have grace and mercy on themselves, because the fact of the matter is that we inherited the manner in which we eat,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order for that to transform, it requires a catalyst such as the wellness queens to create consciousness so that we can make different choices.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, right, how I got into vegetarianism and veganism was that I read a book, and that book was How to Eat to Live by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people don't have that catalyst. So again, I salute you for being that catalyst in the community, because if it wasn't for a catalyst for me, I wouldn't be who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And this is why I say no judgment,
Yeah.
because for me personally, two very transformative things happened in my life to point me in this direction. Um, I'm quite sure a few of you on the call have heard my story before. I was on track to become a lawyer. And just before, going off to do the bar and that type of thing, I had a best friend who was murdered in another country. And I went to his funeral. And he was killed at 34 years old. And for me, this is the absolute first time I've ever heard of anybody murdered. That's not commonplace. Nobody in my family could say, okay, my best friend or my cousin or anybody was murdered. Murders are not commonplace, especially at that time. And so for me, that hit was brutal. But for me, going to the funeral and seeing the impact that he was able to make in such a short time, it reminded me very much of Bob Marley, because I'm saying same age. And there's no doubt that Bob Marley came to do music. And for his community, my friend's community, going to the funeral, they had billboards and stuff put up. And I'm not talking about fancy billboards, I'm talking about cardboard with markers. And everywhere we walked heading to the cemetery, there was rest in peace, poor people lawyer. And that made such a huge, huge difference to me. It was eye opening, because I know for me, I was doing law because I could write, I could argue. I still can argue. I still can write too, but
Yes,
that
you
was my
can.
motivation. I was just good at it. And so, of course, as you grow up, it's like, okay, well, you should do law, and you're kind of positioned into certain things, and you're not really. And I think this is where we fail young adults. There's never a exploration process as to figure out exactly what they want to do in terms of, inside. So for me, since I was good at English, I was good at that type of thing. Law was just a natural progression. And so attending his funeral made it very, very clear to me that, you're just going to push papers. Real talk, you're going to be paid well, but you're going to be pushing papers. And I knew in my heart of hearts that that was not my calling. And so fast forward the year after that, I went to vacation with my aunt. And this is where now I'm trying to figure out what to do with a law degree, how to pivot, what to do. And you're in that, discovery stage. And fast forward, in the matter of 3 months, I saw a fully functional woman become completely void of her essence, void of her life, and she came back to Antigua and succumbed to cancer. And when I tell you the speed at which that decay took place, the speed at which it took place was something. And again, this was just both of us together. And so the hit was real, real hard. And so those two incidents happening back to back pretty much directed me. After I lost my aunt, my question was, if we're trying to fight cancer, why are we eating cancer causing food? Because even in my little awareness at that time, I knew, oh, you would eat certain things and hear, oh, such and such cancerous, and yet we still did it. But for her transition, it was a wake up call for me. And so that pointed me on this path, and I have not shifted since. Um, my nephew. they're so testing me right now. Go ahead, Wind.
So I just remembered what I was thinking, and what I was thinking is that going back to the industrialization of our food, there was an impetus to transition food that they deemed fattening, and so they shifted to fat free. But
Yes.
what they effectively did was add sugar to maintain a good taste. And
Yes.
we all know that additional sugar, or just sugar in general, that's not fully metabolized, actually creates obesity and fat. And
Mhm.
so we have to watch out for that. We have to be cognizant of that. You know, going back to when I was a shorty, not only did I, you know, subsequent to reading the How to Eat to Live, you know, I actually went to the white part of town and saw how they were living. And I actually went to a Whole Foods. And when I went to the Whole Foods for the first time, I was like, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe this. I mean, floor to ceiling, beautiful foods, fresh fruits and vegetables of great radiant, great colors all throughout the place. And I was just so astounded and so enthralled by that place that I was like, man, this is how I'm going to eat from now on.
Mhm. I mean, I tell you. So the systems around us, you know, to me, in the American context, it's really designed that way. It's the whole notion of food deserts. It's a real thing. I've lived there, and I mean, every corner you go, it's a fast food place, it's a liquor store, it's that type of thing. So I understand very clearly in some areas, I mean, to even go a little bit more personal, I remember when I was in Indiana, I grew a lot of food. I pretty much, after working with a client, and we went shopping together because it's important for you to teach people how to shop in the supermarket. And I remember when we got to the counter, she had picked up one bell pepper, one bell pepper, and it was organic. And when the cashier was ringing up, that one bell pepper was $5.75. I never ever forgot that.
Wow.
5.75 for one bell pepper. And I said to myself, this is outrageous. And I made it my business thereafter. Well, the very same season. And luckily, this was early spring, early spring. And so I decided to grow food then. And I remember friends coming over, and one of them came and she saw okra for the first time growing on a tree. And she literally started crying, saying she feels really stupid for not understanding, not recognizing that okras came from trees. Because for her, her only experience with okra is in the supermarket. I remember my neighbor's grandson when he came. So you can eat these kales? So you can eat these kales? This is what grandma cooks? Because we have drifted so far away from nature. And we have conditioned our minds to think of food as something that you get from the supermarket. And so, whatever state you get it from in the supermarket, that's the only thing that we can relate to. And so, yeah, the food industry, especially in America, is, I mean, that's a different ball game altogether. I mean, we have it bad in terms of the influence, but at least, you know, that's, I mean, that's a different kettle of it. That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah, environment and influence is everything. You know, it all emanates from the mind. If
Mhm.
if if your environment is full of liquor stores and subpar convenience stores, and you're around people that have eaten, you know, fried chicken and macaroni and cheese and yams and, you know, all sorts of starchy and fried and sugary foods, that's what you're going to eat because that's
Mhm.
what you're accustomed. It's what you have access to,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's why I say what you're doing is beautiful because you're actually creating a community, right? Not only are you effectuating uh, change in the mind, but you're creating a community because community environment is everything. It's because let me give you an example, right? So I can be a vegetarian all day, and I
Mhm.
could be very disciplined all day or a vegan all day. But if the people in my household don't eat that same way, then ultimately I'm going to succumb to the manner in which they eat. So despite all the discipline that I have, despite all the knowledge that I have,
Yeah.
if I have people around me with Oreos on the top of the refrigerator, my propensity to grab those Oreos is pretty high.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I get it. I mean, for us here, I think the snacks are huge. The snacking, in fact, you can tell a mother when you go to the supermarket just by looking in the cart with the amount of snacks, the corn curls, the Oreos, the this and that, just snacks, 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 snacks. Why? Because again, it's convenient. You don't have to worry about, okay, what are they going to eat? Or if you're buying something, is it going to spoil before you're ready with it? Do you have to cook it? Do you have to do all that? And so I understand it. However, we just have to be mindful. We have to pay attention to our habits because it's often easy to just fall back into your habits without assessing what those habits are, what actually created those patterns. You know, um, it's it's time, and I think technology, as much as there's a negative impact of it, a lot of us use it for mindless stuff,
Yeah.
and the promotion of decadence, if you ask me. However, the very same tool is something that can change and shift the way we think about food. It's important for us to pay attention to why we do what we do. Why do we just buy snacks? And it's not knocking snacks. If you're picking up your food in the grocery store, people, please remember the front is entertainment. Entertainment. These companies understand and they're very well aware that the front is what will grab you. So they will get the graphic designers on board to do excellent artwork. They will perpetrate it as something natural. People, the information, however, is on the back of the product. Turn your products around. Look at what you're eating. Don't just trust just for trusting's sake. And I think that's the core of a lot of the things that we do. We just grab stuff, Pringles. We just grab things. We just eat things without really assessing what is it that I'm eating. Instead of telling yourself that you're eating Pringles, read what Pringles says is in it. And a lot of times, well, not a majority of the times, when you turn that product around, you'll recognize very quickly that you don't even know what you're eating. And if you don't know, wake up. You should know. It's going inside you. A lot of times we don't even want something, oh, what is that? If something wet comes on your hand, it's like, yuck, what is that? You don't know what it is. So instantly you want to get it off of you. But what we're putting inside of us, we can't pronounce the words. We don't know what it is, but we just trust that, oh, they sell it as food. So it must be something edible. It should nourish me and this and that. And a lot of times that's not the case at all. So I would just encourage everybody to take time in the supermarket. Don't just buy things that you're accustomed to buying. Read the ingredients. And once you're unable to decipher, okay, what is this? And you have to pull out this and Google that and Google. It's something that you should probably leave on the shelf. Because the truth is, our community, for the most part, we do not make these things. A lot of times when you see small business owners and operating businesses that make snacks, a lot of times you can recognize what it is. Because it's not made in our community, the whole, this and that and all kind of chemicals. It's not something that we naturally use. yellow number 5, red number this. Why is it necessary to add all of that to our foods in order to have a snack? I'm not knocking snack. You know, we can definitely do better where our selection is concerned. Definitely.
Yeah, we have to treat our bodies like we would treat a high operating machine. So, for example, in a luxury sports car or a luxury car, you wouldn't put 87 octane gas or you wouldn't put diesel gas in that machine because you know that fuel will very soon disintegrate that machine. So we have
Very.
to have a higher esteem for ourselves and treat ourselves well and be conscious about what we put in our mouths. We have to, when we go shopping or when we go to restaurants, just be absolutely cognizant, and really ask yourself, is this optimal for my body?
Mm. And
Are these cookies optimal for my body? Are these cakes optimal for my body? Is that KFC, that fried chicken, optimal for my body? And if we can answer those questions and snap out of our unconsciousness, our lives and our bodies would be way better off.
definitely, and I agree. I just want to piggyback on one of the comments on Zoom. I hear you, Adrian, loud and clear. It is a temple, and even if we begin to look, one moment. Hello. Uh-huh. Who not going to the walkathon tomorrow? Um. So as I was saying, Jordan, I'm live now. Sorry about that, people. Yes, it's what we're doing is just mindless
Yes,
in terms of it's
yes.
exactly that, just mindless. We buy things because, oh, we had it before, or every weekend we eat this, and we do things just out of habit.
Mhm. And
Not
and not even just habit, but we do things out of exhaustion, right? So we're exhausted from our jobs. We don't like our jobs. Our jobs are depressing. Our relationships with one another are depressing. And so out of that depression, we comfort ourselves and satisfy ourselves with Haagen-Dazs and all sorts of different ice cream and cakes and cookies and sugary sweets, things that make us feel good. And that's one of the reasons why we've become obese. So we have to take off some of the stress and one of the things that we could do to do that is to exercise more.
yeah.
Take the time to exercise, take the time to meditate, and take the time to really uh, take responsibility of your life and direct it in the manner that you really want. And like I said, it requires community. One of the great things that uh, the Wellness Queens is creating is community because those of you who are doing the 14-day detox know that it's way more fun and way more enjoyable to do it in community where you're sharing foods on WhatsApp. You guys are going hiking together. You guys are doing social aerobics together. I mean, you guys are really exchanging energy and supporting one another. And that's what the Wellness Queens is all about, is expanding that throughout the diaspora. And so I salute everybody that's doing the Plant Power Detox right now.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing them into the conversation. I hope they will. I'm looking at some comments here. Availability is a big factor. The market is flooded with available trash. Good whole foods take time to grow. Absolutely, Evelyn, you're right on point. And here's our my suggestion in terms of pushing back. refuse. Just outright, just tell yourself, I refuse to purchase whatever. I know for me, I mean, back in the day, in terms of when I was very aggressive in terms of my research on genetic modified foods and things like that, any company that I saw that was an advocate for that, every product that they offered, I refused to buy. We have to support people who are of the same mindset of not just where we are, but where we intend to go. And so, just for me, straight up, just outright refuse. There's some things that it doesn't matter if I'm dropping down hungry. I'm just not going to purchase it. I'm not going to do it. And this is where you have to be militant about it. You have to recognize that the stock that we come from is not no play stock. We wouldn't be here if we came from play people or some softies and things like that. We come from a resilient people. And once we continue to recognize that, forcing us to eat some sort of corn chips or whatever because it's in your face is an active choice. And we can choose something else. Even if I don't have to eat today because that is the only option. We have to be militant about something. And to me, there's nothing more pressing for us to be rebellious about. So push back and make a conscious decision that you're just not going to spend on certain things anymore. And then after that, recognize that there's food around us. But the issue that we have a lot of times is that we no longer look at it as food. When we see tomatoes at the side of the road or we see bananas at the side of the road, we think, okay, that's like a fruit or a snack or something. We no longer look at fresh fruits as food or as a meal. Instead, KFC calling your name with their two-piece combo or whatever it is that they have now, they're calling your name with that when in fact you actually drove past food to get there. And it's that consciousness that we just have to shift here. Once it's here, then it's easier. Yes, all of the pretty stuff when you go to the supermarket, snacks in your face. You go to Epicurean and there's an entire aisle, double sides, that's just loaded with 98% trash. You know what I mean? But it's in your face, so it's easy to just grab it because you don't have to think about it. It's just there. There are a lot of comments coming in. Wouldn't just give me a chance there to
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, let's see. Yes, the market is flooded with trash. Very, very, very true. Like I said, Evelyn, exercise is good, but we also need to understand if you don't take care of your car, it will break down.
That's right.
And
let me say this too, is that, just like you have to be militant, one of the things that I do is I generate substitutes for the things that I have to turn down. So as opposed to eating cakes and cookies, I eat sunflower seeds and raisins, or I might have, some pumpkin seeds and cranberries, just to get that, little bit of sugar rush or that taste or some kind of snack, some type of healthy snack. So we have to have healthy substitutes for the things that we've become accustomed to.
Right. And let me just add on to that for Evelyn. The market is flooded with trash, yes. But all of the quote unquote trash are not created equal. Some are out there in terms of trash. I remember picking up, now let's use, for example, potato chips, right? You can pick up a pack of potato chips, all the fancy dancy ones with all kind of, whatever ranch this and barbecue, whatever it is. I don't really pay keen attention on the names of them. But what I do, however, even though I know I'm not buying it, I pick them up to see what the ingredients are because I really want to see how far they're going to push us. And you turn the back of that thing around, and there is almost 100 ingredients. However, right next to that might be another potato chips. And I'm not advocating for potato chips, but just follow me. The one right next to it might be an original or a classic, and you will have the oil, the potato, salt, and citric acid, or something like that. Four as opposed to 50. So if you're compelled to choose, be careful, be mindful, choose the one with the ingredients that you can recognize. I say snacks are not supposed to, unless it's a complex snacks in terms of like a mix of different nuts and that kind of thing where you have a lot of different ingredients. But the basic plantain chips, there's no need for it to have 12, 13 ingredients. No need. We do plantain chips at home. Yes, it's packaged, so some level of preservative has to be added to it, but we should be able to recognize all the ingredients. You understand? So we're just again going back to what you said, Evelyn, push back and refuse to purchase things that have lengthy ingredients list. We can do that, and I know it makes a huge difference. Leave the things with all them ton of ingredients. People left them on the shelf. Leave them on the shelf so that our supermarkets can start bringing them here. Leave them where they make them. When they're not hitting you, but it's up there they come from. Right there, leave them there. And make the better of the bad choice in terms of your snacks. Let me see what else was said here. Everything we do first accumulates in the mind. Oh, Samantha, talk that stuff. Our minds cause us a lot of distraction. We do not mind spending money on eating foods that will kill us. But when it comes to healthy food, we cry out, oh, it's too expensive. Oh my gosh. Samantha, big, big hugs and mad respect for that comment. I couldn't agree more. A lot of times we think eating healthy is expensive. It's expensive. I'm of the notion that it's not. I'm actually of that notion. But again, what has to happen first is an adjustment in your mentality around food. It's so critical for us to pay attention to seasonal foods. Seasonal foods, and stop allowing what we see on TV, what we see on YouTube, what we see in American culture in terms of their healthy foods to dictate what is healthy for us. People, when Dom's in season, I pass Dom Street all over this island and all the Doms on the ground. Do you realize that Doms are more nutrient dense than apples? But we line up in the supermarket for apples. And this is not knocking apples. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the way in which we look at food, it's almost, if you don't get it packaged up nicely, it doesn't qualify. And that's not true. That's not true. I would tell anybody any day, if I had to choose over my imported fruits versus the local fruits, I'm always going to choose local first. Why? They're all, who in Antigua growing mangoes with chemicals? The fruit trees are there, and once they have gotten to a particular stage in life, they continue to multiply year after year, season after season, and they're all organic. We can't vouch for that in the supermarket. You know, so we just have to pay attention and adjust what we think of food. Food, the lunch food, this rice and peas, potato salad, macaroni pie, big piece of chicken. You're not climbing Buggy Peak. When Buggy Peak is our highest mountain here. So I often refer to that because we eat as if we're gonna do some heavy work. we're going to climb some treacherous mountain or something like that with all the starches that we consume. Shift everything around, shift it around the way in which we compile our plate. And for those of us on the call, I do have a digital version of the Plant Power Detox Handbook. So I would be more than happy to share that with you if you reach out, whether it's by Zoom or whether it's on Facebook. I certainly welcome, because I know the structure that is offered in that book is very, very helpful. You can interchange the foods and things like that. Doesn't have to be expensive. If you want to keep up with the Joneses, you're eating all the fake meats and all that type of faux this and faux that. Yeah, you're gonna pay some stiff prices for that. But in terms of your basics, oftentimes it's not that expensive.
For those
I
people that, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, for those people that think that eating properly or eating well, eating healthy is expensive, let me just say that you are in absolute error. Mathematically and from a physical standpoint. From mathematically, right? So you might, let's just say you did have to pay $5 for a bell pepper, right? But if the opposite of that has prolonged consequences that generate diabetes, that generate hypertension, that generate cancer. And if you ever had to have surgery, right? Or if you ever had to be hospitalized, right? All of that will tax you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
From a financial perspective, as well as a physical perspective. So you're better off eating well in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you don't want those problems. You don't want you don't want to have a diabetes and have to go to dialysis and have your blood recirculated through a machine. One of my godmothers had to do that. And she fell into a coma and died subsequently a couple of days later from having her heart pulled from that dialysis machine.
Mm-hmm.
My mother just had pancreatic cancer in transition last year. And I saw a robust woman deteriorate within a matter of weeks. And not only was it traumatic to her body, but it was traumatic for all of us to have endured that and seen that and experienced that with her. So don't think about yourself, because it taxes everybody around you. It impacts everybody around you. And that you can't put a price dollar on.
Man, I don't even know how to respond. People, we need to do better. We really do. We really do. Thank you so much for sharing that, Wind. Um, and the truth is, so many of us have those same stories.
Absolutely.
Auntie, cousin, uncle. It's
It's plaguing our entire community. It's all around us. And
yeah.
it's quite unfortunate. How many times do we need to witness this for us to make a choice that's better?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even rational for us to actually witness these things and experience these things, yet do the same damn thing over and over and over, and succumb to the same garbage, the same crap over and over in perpetuity. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense, and we need to cut it out. We need to knock it off.
Somebody was.
One of the things
Mhm.
I feel that's so hard for us to reconcile in our mind is because we're constantly getting mixed messages about life. It's the whole you have to always be on a hustle, you always have to be on a grind. You can't even take vacation from work and people aren't calling you or messaging you with the expectation that you're going to be available. And so, you know, when there's this constant need to always be doing, always be have access to things, you have no other choice but to get sucked into the convenience of the trash that's available, because the reality is the time isn't there, because you feel as if, well, you're going to be left behind if you're not um, hustling to get to work for 8 o'clock, because nobody has ever thought about flex schedules. And the reality is, we all can't live that life. We all have so many things going on. The anxiety that I experience every morning just to get out of the house and still be late, I don't know how I haven't blown a gasket as yet. There is no change in real life for life changes.
Truth. True, true, true. And this is where the community is so necessary, because we and this is the consequence of us no longer having easy access to extended families. And yes, a lot of times your families might be
And trusted support. And trusted
yes.
support, because that's a big factor. There's people around, but it's like, how much people can you actually trust to guard your most important things
Yeah, your
if
children.
people aren't on the same mind shift as you? If everybody is wanting to, if you're not, it's not only their physical safety but their mental safety as well, because a lot of things, just like what you say, we have issues with our relationship with food being passed down from generation to generation, but we also have issues with mindset as well too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shit that needs to take place where that is happening as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't have people that you're gonna trust to be able to, not talk down to your kids, not cause them emotional trauma, unbeknownst to them, because I don't believe a lot of it is intentional. It's just the fact that most people don't know any other way to do it, or it requires real work and real change.
Yeah.
100%. And
Then you don't
that
have the time.
yeah, and what we're trying to do is have people be conscious about what they're eating, even if it is a small incremental change, right? And what the Wellness Queens is building is community. What she's showing everybody is that we also have a capacity to become entrepreneurs and be self-determined, and help others um, become employed within those networks such that they can be self-determined as well. So you're going to see a lot of activity with Ms. Davis, and she's going to create a community of entrepreneurs that are doing well globally, and so that you won't have those issues working for somebody else at the behest of somebody else, what they say and what they want to do with your time.
And let me just add
I'm
in
looking
right.
forward to that with great expectation.
Let me just add that in. Add in also, Evelyn. You see exactly what you mentioned. There's clearly a need for assistance with that, because I can guarantee you, you're not the only one. You're probably the third person I heard talk about the same the panic to get to the job, especially when you have children. I mean, I've seen it. There's nothing easy about that. There's nothing easy, and it's almost like you can't rise early enough. So a lot of us, in terms of going back to what Wynn said, in terms of entrepreneurship, clearly there is a need, and so it's for us to come up with to facilitate people's needs. So perhaps somebody on the call, let me see who all in here, all the people, the Farida, Indira, and all that, Melinda Hyde, Peace Queen. Yeah, there's a need for things like that. So if you are free flowing, or if you operate a business of your own, or if you're thinking about doing so, services like what Evelyn just mentioned is something that's critical. It's needed. How about, okay, you offer a service in the morning to assist with that whole process, getting breakfast prepared in somebody's home, or, if it's one thing I know for a fact, everything that we need is within us or within our access. That is what I truly, truly believe. And so it's for us to pay attention to what is being said. Evelyn, I can't thank you enough for sharing that.
Yeah. Obesity is a complex issue. I mean, we haven't even spoken about pregnancy and childbirth. We haven't spoken about hormonal changes. We haven't spoken about
Yeah.
postpartum depression. You
Yeah.
know, we haven't spoken
It's
about,
so wide.
yeah. I mean, there's a tremendous even having the pressures of having children and multiple children and managing a household and managing, having to work and all that. I mean, it's such a complex issue for a lot of people.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, Evelyn, big hugs. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. And we just need to do more in terms of having conversations like this so that we can all recognize the need. you know Clearly we got very, very directly what you desire in terms of, as an employer, if anybody on the call as an employer, recognize what Evelyn just said. So can we consider later starting hours? We certainly can. And because the truth is, the more comfortable your employees are, the greater the productivity. So if there are employers watching, that's something that we really, having somebody coming in to the job being anxious and unsettled is, you know, that's not a plus. That's not a plus. Let me see the other
Yeah,
comment.
we have to start generating businesses so that we can employ our own people, so that we can, get out of the matrix. Once we take back our time, reclaim our time, then we have the opportunity to actually live in the manner which we really want to live. That's what this is all about. And the beauty of it is that now we have technology, and so um, global business is easier than ever before. The capacity to actually make money is so much easier than ever before, but we're still stuck into old paradigms. And so, like I said, it's conversations like these that will, penetrate those mindsets and break those barriers and create something new. So we're on to something, everybody. So this is just the beginning.
Thank you for that, Wind. I was gonna read a comment just now. Everything takes time. Okay, I'm working almost 2 years straight and cannot get a vacation until, or if I'm being paid. Yeah, yeah. Tamara, I feel you. 2 years on can't get vacation. You know that's against the law, right? I'm just saying. That's against the law. Um, yeah, 2 weeks in a year. That's what you're entitled to by law. So 2 years and can't get none. But I get it. I get it, people. And the reality is, um, yes, but it's one man against The entire company. Tomorrow. Um, yeah, we have to talk. I get what you're saying. She when she's saying, she's been working 2 years and she's still unable to get vacation, and I know legally um, that's a violation. Um, but when it's just you, and when everybody else is comfortable with you know that type of environment, then you look like the okay, what's your problem? But the truth is, we do need downtime, and this is talking from somebody. I'm preaching to myself.
Mhm.
When you love what you do, and I do, it's very easy to continuously do it without taking break and breathers and things like that. So tomorrow, I get it. I get it. But yeah, let's look at other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, at
Mhm.
some point you have to, above the dollar, above other things and everybody else, we have to treasure ourselves and our body. And unfortunately, it creates us, it causes us to make some hard decisions. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to wipe our hands of situations and um, work environments and people that don't serve us, you know?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the impact of that is going to have you break down.
Yeah.
It's going to have you break down physically, and it's going to have you break down mentally and emotionally. And I promise you, you do not want none of that.
Hmm.
So it's better to deal with it up front as best you can. I know it's a tough economy. It's a pandemic, but you have to strategize. And if you don't have that capacity to strategize, then talk to smart people around you that can actually help you strategize to get out of that situation. A lot of us don't. We are so independent
Yeah.
and so isolated from people and don't share with people what's going on with us. We have to begin to ask people for help and to get to the life that we want.
Yeah. Definitely. And because the truth is, some of us make it look easy. You know, it looks easy. Evelyn, I'm quite sure. Every time I see you, you look great. So even for persons who work with you, or people in your circle, it's easy for us not to pay attention to the challenge because it looks easy. Everything is presented well. Your sons always look awesome. Look at the energy that that one of them had just moments before we started. um
Yeah, Kayo.
yeah, Kayo, don't play. Kayo always full of life. And so because they always look well and happy and that type of thing, from the outside looking in, it looks perfect, you know? So being vulnerable and sharing information like that is definitely a start. Um, but like I said, we need to create those little nexuses in our circle. And that's exactly what I pray the detox group morphs into in the future, in terms of being able to have access to a sister friend when necessary, just to take a break. Sometimes it doesn't really. And one of the assignments that was given 2 days ago or 3 days ago in the detox was to plan self care acts, plan them out for this month. So I hope y'all have your long list for me. But sometimes it's a half an hour makes a major difference. An hour just for you to be able to center yourself as a woman as opposed to being mother and wife 24/7. Just an hour break. sometimes we really don't need to do anything. You don't have to go and spend to get a massage and things like that. Sometimes you just need to be left alone. And I pray that the community that we're steadily building definitely shifts in that direction where we can be each other's sister friend, the way in which our families used to be, in terms of everybody always had somebody to turn to. Those are ancient ways that needs to be brought back to the fore because it's necessary. We're juggling a lot. And again, one of the reasons why the convenience food are just that convenient because we're doing so much, you know. Anyhow, be encouraged, Queen. Tomorrow, yeah, let's look at other options.
How big is caffeine there?
You know
Coffee
what?
and caffeinated teas and energy
It's
drinks.
it's slowly become, well, the energy drinks are more of a thing, but I've noticed locals all of a sudden, and this is that shift, the whole American influence where, bush tea and all that. Some persons are straying from the bush tea and gravitating towards the lattes and the this and that are highly addictive. So once you get into that pattern, it's very hard for you to jump out of that wheel.
Yeah,
You know.
my point in asking that is because when you drink those types of drinks, you are overstimulating your nervous system. And when you overstimulate your nervous system, you are heightening your anxiety and stress. And when
Hmm.
you heighten your anxiety and stress, your propensity to eat bad things is very, very high.
Yeah, definitely. That whole fight or flight. And Queen, I'm sure she's on Facebook watching. She actually asked me, what is it about? Why am I against coffee and that type of thing? And what I said to her is that exactly what you mentioned, that fight or flight mode, even though all we're doing is, typing a letter in the office, but having done that every day, your body is in fight or flight. You don't recognize it, but that's where it's as if your body is steadily running from an lion, running from an elephant. You're doing what needs to be done to survive. And once all of those, you know, your nervous system is activated that way, then, like he said, the panic attack, the anxiety, and all that, it's right there. It's next door. It comes with the territory a lot of times. Um,
Yeah, that
and
survival mentality is rooted in fear, lack, and scarcity. I have to do this, I have to do that. I don't have this much time. I don't have this much money. You
mhm,
know, this is too expensive.
yeah.
You know,
And let me just piggyback on what you said in terms of watching the impact of bad choices, in terms of us, you either pay now or you pay later. Again, I'm of the notion that eating healthy isn't as expensive as we think it is. Eating healthy doesn't mean a decked out plate every day. It doesn't mean that you have to have six different sides in your plate and sprouts, and that's not what it means. It means, in my opinion, the absence of trash. Let's just start right there, the absence of trash. So once we're choosing not to consume certain things that we know off the bat is just not good for you, we've already made strides in terms of eating healthier. And I just, like I said, the conversation on obesity, notice good, we haven't really paid any attention to the impact that obesity has on the body. But that's because it was deliberate. I think it's important for us to go at obesity from another angle because a lot of times here, here, that's where the work has to be done. Recognizing your attachment, recognizing your addictions, recognizing the need to shift and pivot out of. again, going back to what you said, we've witnessed it time and time again. We all eat the same type of thing. This is the end result. Why are we comfortable hoping, praying, and wishing for a different outcome for us when we're unwilling to make any different steps? It's the definition of insanity. It's the very, very definition. So we need to, and I know it sounds preachy, we need to do this, we need to do that, that type of thing. Again, I wouldn't say it if I don't think that we need to hear it, and we need to hear it over and over and over again. There are certain things that we, commonplace, cliches and things like that, commonplace because we talk about it all the time. When it comes to food, we need to have these conversations. We have to do better as a people. The only way our outcome is going to be different from the persons who we've seen suffer before us is if we make a change. And we can't make a change if we're signing up for everything that our foreparents or other people before us did. And even when we look at our the traditional ways that we have, the truth is our traditional ways, it's almost as if we choose to embrace just the bad. There were a lot of good things that our foreparents or grandparents did that we have abandoned because for us it's no longer convenient. They walked, they cleansed, they used all sorts of laxative every week, and we don't do those things. No, we eat morning, noon, and night, Monday through Sunday. They never did that. So we're not even following their handbook. There's no downtime. There's no moment when we cleanse willingly. And so that's why I applaud persons who come on board to do the detox and that type of thing, because it's necessary. We're backed up. We don't want to release our attachment to food, and we don't even want to release toxins from in the body. It's all working together. It's all working together. We're constipated in more ways than one. And we just, again, it's not to sound as if we're preaching and saying, oh, we need to do. But the truth is, everybody on the call, they recognize that we need to do better. And let me see what Adrian is saying. Adrian is saying basic salads, brown provision, healthy oils, fruits you can get affordably. Yes, herbs for cleaning. Oh, yeah, and the no sugar, absolutely. I mean, even if you opt for sugar, sugar shouldn't be something that you eat, that you're consuming every week. It doesn't need to be. If you choose to have something as a treat and you do it every 14 days, it's far better than sodas and that kind of thing. Not in 2022. We have to do better. The information is there. Gone are the days where ignorance is bliss. It's no longer bliss. We know those things are poisonous. So you don't have that protection. Yes, Adrian, I'm always on the Pine Hill. There's a Caribbean brand that's from Barbados. It's very popular here, so that's the one that I usually point to. We just need to think about our foods, think about the things that we're consuming. And let me just quickly point out why I speak about Pine Hill, since Adrian brought it up. Mango tree in your yard, 2 mangoes growing side by side. If you take those 2 and you eat both of them, one will be watery and one super, super sweet. Nature always has a variation. When you are consuming fruit juices and those bottled juices, and notice good, the flavor is always consistent. How is it that they get the same sweetness on mangoes every time? Same sweetness in pineapples when we never have that luck. We never have that luck because we're eating natural foods. What stabilizes the taste of these juices is chemicals. And they put it on the stuff and it's that natural flavors. Wind, where are you?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's that natural flavors. That's the segue where they get all the chemicals in. What is natural flavors? Where you pick that? What is it? But it's that way of getting chemicals in the product without having to explain it much. So we have to pay attention. The fruit juices, it's stable. You know what to expect. Any day you pick up a pineapple juice, it's always going to taste the same. Pineapples are not like that naturally. Okay. Let me see what else. When you see the time,
Yeah, yeah. But I want to say a couple of things though before we part.
sure. I don't have a problem with it.
First thing is that, we have to remind ourselves scientifically, how do you burn a calorie? How do you burn a pound? And the simple answer is that you burn it by exhausting more than you consume. And so with our busy schedules, we are not exercising as rigorously as we ought to burn those calories. And I am I'm not here pointing the fingers or being preachy. I'm just sharing with you guys my experience because I'm a big guy myself, as you guys can see, and I've been all through all sorts of things, many of which you guys have mentioned. I back in the day I tore my ACL, which is a major ligament in my knee, and I was an athlete before that. I played football, I played baseball, and I was an avid runner and cyclist. And when I tore my ACL, I was absolutely devastated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not devastated because, um, well, let me just say this. At first I was cool because I thought I could recover really quickly. But during my recovery didn't go as planned, and it had me be devastated because I couldn't do what I used to do. I couldn't go out and run. I couldn't go out and bike. I couldn't go play football or baseball. And I got tremendously devastated, and it mentally took me out. And I began to drink heavily and smoke all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so as a consequence of me drinking and smoking, I began to eat all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
And this was back in the day before the internet. And I got into the thinking, because I couldn't do the research adequately, that at that time it was proposed that to build muscle back, because my quadriceps and my hamstring, uh, what happened was they got deflated. They call it atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
And so during the rehabilitation process, it required you to work out rigorously. And even with me working out rigorously, my muscles did not come back. And so again, there was a notion back then amongst bodybuilders that to build muscle,
Mm-hmm.
you needed protein and lots of protein. And that protein was gotten through steak and fish and chicken and all sorts of foolishness, right? And I
And
got caught up in that mix, not knowing that the chickens and the beef got their proteins from the damn plants. I wasn't even thinking. So I got
and
bamboozled.
not only that, what else is in the chicken? The hormonal issues, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in turn gonna help, you know.
Yeah. So I say that to say that, you know, the biggest thing that has us be obese is not just the inheritance, but our mind states, our depression and our stress. our anxieties. And I didn't manage that properly, you know. And I always said to myself, because I was an athlete, that once I get my body back right, then I can go back to that same rigor
Yeah.
later. So it was always someday. It was always tomorrow. And guess what, everybody? That damn someday, that damn tomorrow never came.
Yeah.
It didn't come in a manner in which I imagined it. And so the negative mind state just compiled and compiled and compiled, and the weight gained and gained and gained. And so the reason why I'm on this platform today is to share with you guys, the source of obesity, such that you get it in a powerful way, that you won't succumb like I did, and you won't have to do the heavy lifting that I have to do. So Saran is a blessing to all of us.
Thank
And I
you.
pray that you guys listen and follow direction, and not just listen and follow direction, but hold each other accountable and be a source of support for one another, to build a community for us to live into that's way better than our predecessors.
Yeah.
Because all this KFC, all this McDonald's, all this Burger King, all this canned food, and all this packaged food, all this frozen food is just simply not good for us. And we have to admit that, acknowledge that. Just like a alcoholic has to admit his faults and failures, we have to admit our faults and failures. And that's the only way that we can actually transform into something bigger and better in life, and actually live the life that we want.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Wind. Um, yeah. We got work to do, people. We have a whole lot of cleaning up to do. Lots of cleaning up and coming together. And remember, people, for everybody on the call, again, there's an unspoken rule that you're expected to share the information. There is none amongst us that's so qualified, that has entire life figured out and that type of thing. But we are all more powerful than we think. The impact that you can have just by sharing information with somebody else can be life changing. Let me see the other comments in here. Um, been vegan for over 10 years, no processed sugars, no rice, no. Oh, we know you, Adrian. We know you. Adrian, not playing, not playing, not playing. But I just want to encourage us. For some of us, we are going to have to take small steps, baby steps. Do I think that we're all going to be plant-based and we're all going to be, no, I don't. But do I think that we can all do better? We absolutely can. We absolutely can. Gone are the days when you're being bombarded with this information repeatedly and you're not changing or shifting anything. That's dangerous. That's very, very, you no longer have the ignorance as protection, people. When you're going to select your foods, do a better job. Do a better job. You don't have to, okay, this is the special for today, so you have to have it like that. How about you tell them, okay, keep the macaroni pie, keep the potato salad, give me more vegetables, give me a salad. Put that with your usual, whatever else you're going to have. We can all do better. Don't just fall victim to the status quo. The status quo, I don't know what's down. Well, we can all see what's down the line because we've watched our uncles, our aunts, we've watched all those people suffer as a result of eating the very same way. And again, There is no judgment. There is absolutely no judgment. I was vegetarian since 1995. That's a long, long time. My path on natural health and that type of thing started in 2009. I became plant based in 2014, and that's because of my attachment to dairy. So I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I don't pretend as if I have so strong of a willpower that oh, we can all do. I understand sometimes it's baby steps, but once you're confronted with this information, it's expected for you to alter something, do something. Sodas, not in 2022, not as an adult. We can't do that. We can't do that and justify anything. Discipline is key. It's all well and good to recognize your situation and explain it away. But at the end of the day, that disciplinary muscle is something you need to exercise. Flex on them. The soda drinking thing, the Coke and the Pepsi and stuff. Hello, not 2022. Not when the information is in the palm of your hand. Not when the mean. Those things are non-negotiable right now. KFC 2022. Today's May the 1st. Make some small changes. Anyhow, let
Let
me
me
see
say
what.
this too, is that, you know, I'm gonna just give you guys a trick. And I'm not saying a trick, but something to think about, right? When I go to the grocery store and when I'm eating, I think of it like this. You have to love yourself and take good care of yourself. And so when I'm going through the aisles, I'm asking myself and I'm picking up stuff in the grocery store. And actually, if I consume this, if I eat this, is it really caring for myself? Is it really loving myself?
Yeah,
Is it giving me the optimal fuel for my body? Is this the best thing that I can eat for my body? And when I look at it, and if it doesn't do that, I put it down.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how we do it. And again, when I say that mentality,
Yeah.
love yourself enough.
But it's a moment by moment by moment thing because it doesn't last in perpetuity. You really have to be conscious moment by moment by moment because we fall asleep. We can easily fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah,
It happens all the time.
hmm
Consciousness is something that you cannot hold on to. It's like trying to hold the ocean, or it's like trying to hold sand. It evades us easily. So it's a moment by moment thing. You have to really think about things every day, every moment. Is this good for me? Is this loving for me? Is this really caring for me? Is this optimal for my body?
and I think I'll just close out. Clearly, we have to do a part two on obesity because we haven't even touched, like was mentioned, we haven't touched the hormonal issue. And for some persons who are obese, they're diligently trying. They're really applying the effort. They're doing different things, cutting back on this, minimizing the amount of calories that they intake and things like that. But because our hormonal systems are so short, it makes expelling, releasing, and losing weight very, very difficult. And so conversations like that we'll have another time. We didn't even touch on like what obesity is as opposed to being overweight and that type of thing. But we'll definitely do a part two because um, there's certainly a need for it. You can most likely repair the damage or what. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm reading a comment again. I need to start this journey for many reasons. I was never a hefty child, but I realized I'm an emotional eater. I was never a sick child. Then, as I got older and started making wrong choices of food, I trust that I can repair the damage done and stay focused. Hmm. I'm of the contention that yes, it can be repaired. Um, when you understand the body and our resilience as people and just our physical bodies as well. I'm definitely of the mindset that it can be repaired. It does take work, Queen. It does take work. It's not a pretend thing. I can't act as if it's easy because again, going back to what Wynn said, when you're surrounded by all the things that you love, all the things that comforted you, when you step out on a limb to make a change for yourself, it's difficult. It's difficult for a lot of us because yes, you might be fired up for May, fired up for June, fired up July, but come August, sometimes the militancy wanes. As it wanes, we go right back to what's around us, what's convenient, what's in our face, what we loved for many, many years, But I definitely think that shifting and changing, if I didn't think that it could repair, I wouldn't push it. But I've
You
seen it
wouldn't
happen.
be doing what you're doing. That's what the
Yeah,
wellness queens stand for.
definitely.
Is
It's
the
like wellness
capacity
thing.
for us to transform our lives.
Definitely. We need to talk about that hormonal issue. Definitely, Queen. Preventing us from losing weight. Very, very good point, Patrice. Like I said, we have to do a part two on it because it's a lot more complex than just selecting good foods. Because the truth is, our habits have already altered our bodies in a way that it's not functioning normally anymore. And so, knowing exactly what to do to bring our bodies back to balance so that it can function naturally again, lose weight as it really should, is something that we definitely have to have a conversation about. Thank you for sharing that, Patrice. That again, I want to spend some time. I want to spend some time on that. Probably next week. When what you say, you're down for next week?
Absolutely. I rock with you 100%.
Okay.
And I encourage everybody that's in the distance of my voice to rock with the wellness queens because this is her life work, you know. And we need each other to transform our community, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line. That's what it's all about. I
It's
mean,
not.
she has big plans.
I do. And like I said in the beginning, for those who missed it, when there's somebody who has redesigned my life, and that's the best way that I can sum it up. I feel very empowered, and as you do what you do, it's easy for you to either minimize your impact or you know think from a particular lens. But when you get feedback and when you get input from somebody who sees your intention, it's something that keeps the fire ever blazing. And I'm grateful, immensely grateful for you and everything that you do. And I know Melinda's on the line. I know that I've told her before. Like when I'm done with the conversation with Wayne, I feel like I have the W for Wonder Woman on the front and S on the back because I'm Superwoman too. So again, I just want to thank you. Where are we? Um, are there any other questions, comments, feedback?
And we want everybody to have that feeling. That's what community is all about.
Definitely. Um,
One of the things that I definitely must commend you on, like I said, I know this kind of work requires a lot of intention, because mindset and habits are some of the hardest things to change. But what I know this has done for me, um, coming from somebody who has been introduced to it in the past and now being on this journey with you, because that's what we have to remember, it is a journey. We're not going to get there overnight. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of intention. But the more you continue to do this, the more people that's going to be exposed to it. I do believe in some form or fashion that we will be transformed, because yes, the next time you go to the grocery store, I'm gonna hear that voice in the back of your head, like, should we do I really need this right now? And as uncomfortable as it makes us sometimes, we can't grow in comfort. We have to get a little uncomfortable. So keep doing what you're doing, because it will change. It will change. It's slow change, but it's change. So keep doing it.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic for us. I know that our bodies don't lie. Our bodies don't lie. Yes, during a detox, sometimes it's not all pleasurable. You go through the different changes and adjustments in your body as you come off of sugar, as you utilize the herbs to help you and things like that. So it's not always ease. But the truth is, after doing 14 days and eating natural foods for those 14 days, when you reintroduce the bad stuff again, your body will tell you what time it is. And that indication is key. We don't want to feel sick. We don't want to feel sluggish. We don't want to be constipated. There's no reason why you're eating food every day and you can't remember when last you defecated. I mean, that's not the way for conscious people. And just the bare fact, for whoever is watching the live, whether it's on Facebook or will watch it in the future, or if you're on Zoom, you're not in this circle. You're not on this call right now by chance, and it's because there's a motivation for this, and for each of us it's different. But we have to make small steps for those who are, born lioness that can just drop everything cold turkey and run with it, and we just do, then let's do that. But for the vast majority, it's going to be incremental. But every increment is significant. If you can just start by saying, okay, no more sodas, I'm not going KFC anymore, just those two. If those are things that you normally practice or engage in, then we're eliminating those two, and we just slowly chip away, slowly getting mindful and remember. And this is the easiest takeaway, is to remember natural people are supposed to eat natural foods. Natural foods is not something that's always going to be convenient. It's not going to always come in a can. It's not going to always be packaged up for you. It's not break and eat type thing. But when you think about the fruits, you pick, you pluck, and you eat. So those are always convenient. Go back to the essence of us. Natural people, natural foods. And as the persons on the detox would know, I say live food for live people. Leave the dead food for dead people. Anyhow, I think we have, let me see the other comments here.
Let me say this one last thing, is that, how do you turn a barge 180 degrees? You do it 1 degree at a time. We're not asking anyone to be extremist. This is not a crash diet that we're requesting, right? This is a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So do it incrementally, 1 degree at a time. Be gracious to yourself. Be merciful to yourself. Forgive yourself, and release whatever mental anguish you have, or embarrassment about being obese,
Yeah.
just let it go
Mm-hmm.
and just simply make a commitment to do something different today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I don't think there's a better way to close our conversation today than that. Yeah, grace, mercy, and forgiveness. Even in the midst of our wrongdoing, adding the stress to your body by judging yourself, being critical, it perpetuates the very same cycle of self sabotage. So you need to be quick to forgive yourself, but also recognize in every ounce of forgiveness, discipline is necessary to push back against it. So let's slowly but surely next week we'll have another conversation. We'll swing more in the direction as to the different hurdles that make it difficult for us to overcome shedding the weight and things like that. And again, I'm looking at the comments. There are lots of comments in this stuff. I'm thankful for meeting you as well, Samantha. Y'all are so sweet. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And again, next week we're looking at obesity again from another angle. And I invite you to invite your friends and your family. I also admonish you that you may not be in the physical condition that you think should be somebody preaching to somebody else. Okay, you're talking to somebody else who's maybe slimmer than you, but you're telling them, oh, you shouldn't, you should really cut back on the sodas and things like that. Your rightful position. You are the messenger, and the messenger doesn't have to fit a particular um, um, aesthetic or a particular silhouette. We all are now armed with some information that can be helpful to somebody else. Pass it on. Doesn't matter if the person fit as all get out and you're not. We all still possess the message, and the message needs to resonate around Earth. All right, so Wind, peace and blessings to you. I am honored to have you on my platform, and I look forward to the work and the beautiful things that we will manifest together and individually. I'm very grateful again for having you in my circle. All right, so any closeout words? I know what you said just now was perfect as we segue out, but what you want to tell my people them, our people them, because
I just want to
it's the
give a
entire
big shout
time.
out to everybody doing the Plant Power Detox, everybody that's on Zoom. Follow this lady, support this woman, because she's doing a great job. And you have no idea the sacrifices and the time that she has put to generate this work. So please support her. Please love her. Please cherish her. Please respect her, because she's doing a great work, and she's going to do even greater work throughout the world. So shout out to everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, the man. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you. Oh my gosh, y'all. Ooh, if you see the Zoom talk tonight, right? And yes, Adrian, fitness has become symbolic of health, but it's a significant deception. You're absolutely right. We'll talk more about that next week as we look into the other side of obesity and things like that. Thank you guys so much for all the love and for the contribution in the chat tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for rocking with me, all of y'all. Wind, it's an honor. Truly, truly is. Until next week. Next week we're doing part 2. We're going to look at the hormonal issues affecting that. We're going to look at constipation, of course. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. We're going to get into understanding whether you're overweight as opposed to if you're obese and things like that. So there's a lot more to share, a lot more, but time is upon us. Peace and blessings, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. It's May the 1st. Make a promise to yourself for your wellness this month and stick with it because we deserve it more than anything else. Don't do it because of discipline. Don't do it to prove anybody wrong or to prove anybody right. Just do it because you love yourself that much. Peace and blessings, everybody. Good night.
Peace, everybody.
Bless up, bless up, bless up. Zoom people. What's good? Good night, y'all. Shout out tonight. Thank you.